It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
And welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. It is brought to you by Caesars Entertainment. Caesars, where every guest is treated like Caesar and every visit is unforgettable. Teddy Covers is here. I'm Dave Koken. Jared Justice is with us. And the Junkyard Dog, Jeff Davis. He is the Director of Trading at Caesars. Will be joining us on Wednesdays now. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Dave, what's happening?
I'm excited. I mean, this is going to be a great night of sports. We're glad to have you guys with us, which is just going to enhance the show even more. And I want to get right into it. We've got so much to talk about. We'll talk about Caesars along the way as well and what's happening there as far as sports betting is concerned. But I want to talk about UNLV. They get the win and the cover at Wyoming last night. But the real buzz is taking place off the court right now, and it involves Rick Pitino. And, you know, it depends on who you talk to. Serious talks, maybe. Other people are saying there's nothing really to it and that the AD doesn't want him. Where are you on this? And if you were going to place a mythical line on his getting hired, what might you make the price?
You know, Dave, to me it's all about what does the athletic director want to do? Does he want to go down the so-called dark road with all of Pitino's scandals, this, that, and the other thing, and take the beating in the media that they'll take for hiring this guy, but in turn likely turn the program completely around and be filling the Thomas and Mack every night? Or do they want to stay on the straight and narrow and just move along and forget that this was even talked about? If they're okay with what's going to come with it, I make it a huge favorite. But if not, then it's really just comes down to that to me.
So what's the number then?
Minus 180.
Yeah,
yes for Pitino to be what do you say to be the men's head basketball coach next year.
Yes.
Wow.
I guess my take on it is that they get crushed in the national media, but they wouldn't get crushed in the local media because the local media has more of a realization that the program is slipping into complete irrelevance right now, and it's going to get worse with the Golden Knights in town, the Raiders on the way, an NBA franchise probably in the next few years will be relocated here. You're talking, and I made this, it was meant sarcastically, but it wasn't that inaccurate. They're on the verge of becoming the Nevada version of Fordham. Well, seriously, because they're in it. Fordham used to be a great program, years ago, but it's a pro sports town.
Beyond an afterthought in New York City.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you something, and this is just the way I feel about it. I think UNLV is approaching afterthought status. Nobody's showing up at the games. They're not an attraction on the road anymore. You got to do something to create relevance and revenue. And while he's got a checkered past, this guy is a lightning rod. He will put butts in the seats. He will fill seats on the road in conference play. To me, it is an absolute no-brainer. And I think it's a catastrophic mistake if UNLV doesn't go after him. So there.
Well, I mean, meanwhile, the Rebels won and covered on the road last night in a game where they hit 4 3-pointers for the whole game. They're up to, 9-5 in conference play. They're having an okay season.
Yeah, but okay isn't putting butts in the seats.
But what happens if Pitino comes and it doesn't live up to expectations?
It will. It will.
You really think?
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. What in comparison to the overall market? What is UNLV betting volume like right now? What's happening as far as betting volume on their games?
Non-existent. If it's fills a slot when they play on a Saturday against San Jose State or one of these middle-of-the-road or lower than that Mountain West teams, and there are other games on, it's non-existent. Yeah. Last night, it's the get-out game. It's the last game on the board. It's on national TV. It's going to be bet more accordingly, but not necessarily that it's UNLV. It's just the last game on the board.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly, and that's just not supposed to be happening. All right, well, one thing we don't have to worry about, I don't think UNLV has to be lumped into the category of potential NCAA tournament sleeper team this year. Let's talk about a few of the under the collar, or under the radar, I should say, mid-majors. And you and Teddy can chime in and assess their chances of maybe doing a little damage to the tournament. And one team that's got a lot of people excited is Buffalo out of the Mid-American Conference. They're good, Jeff.
They're real good, and they're really unselfish. They don't turn the ball over. They get on the glass. They score a ton of points. They're fun to watch. And even though Massenberg is, such a dynamic player, they're not totally reliant on him. So I think if they get the right matchup in the first round or the second round, I think they can win a couple games. It's just if they get matched up against the slow Virginia-style team, they may struggle a bit. But otherwise, I think they can win a game or two.
And, Buffalo really impressed me. Was it last Friday night at Toledo? And that was as rowdy as Toledo gets at Savage Arena. And they jumped out to a big lead. And Buffalo was mature enough to withstand the charge and then made all the plays down the stretch, looking like the type of team that can win games in March. Of all the teams we're going to talk about right here on this list, I think Buffalo is the most likely to win, not one, but two.
And they're the highest rated. The Southern Conference has produced some scary sleepers over the years. Wofford looks like they might be one of those teams this year. It's a pretty good Southern Conference, and Wofford looks like the team to beat in that league, Jeff.
Yeah, they can really shoot the lights out. Three-pointers, I believe they're second in the nation in three-point percentage. They don't have any really bad losses on their schedule. They play a lot in the similar style to Buffalo in that they want to run and they want to score 80, 90 points in these games. And I feel like it's a very similar situation where if they can get in a game against another team that likes to run, maybe they just outscore them. Probably a team that struggles in a game that gets played in the 60s.
Yeah, and the one thing that I worry about always with the teams that are very reliant on the three-point shot is what kind of venue are they playing in? Because, as you know, in the NCAA tournament, some of it's designed to sell tickets, not necessarily designed because they're the best basketball venues in the world that these games are being played at, although that's more of a Final Four thing than anything.
Yep. If you watch this team last night and the way they played recently, they're scary. This is a scary team, and I think you guys are going to get some future money on this team because there'll be a big price, and there's always that mid-major that can make a run. And I think VCU, Jeff, they could be that team. VCU is really good.
VCU is an interesting one for me because they play a ton of guys and they're deep and they don't have one guy that they rely on every night. Mm-hmm. But to me, they don't do anything great, but they seem to win games in a grinding fashion. They beat Texas this year. They only have one really terrible loss to Rhode Island, but the other night, or was it last night, they came back and hammered them at home. I'm personally not as impressed with this team as Buffalo and Wofford, but all the metrics say that they're quite good, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do a little damage.
And VCU's a team that, if they don't win the A-10 tournament, and I think they'll be tested there, as opposed to a team like, Buffalo or Wofford, who are both going to be the clear favorites going in. Not that this was a banner year for the A-10, but Davidson can play.
And Dayton can play, too.
Yeah.
And Dayton went into Davidson and won last night.
And George Mason's not that bad either.
No. I'll tell you who else isn't bad is Utah State out here in the Mountain West. Obviously, it's Nevada's conference. But Utah State appears to have kind of taken hold as the second-best team. And I don't know whether they can get an at-large or not. They're going to be borderline. But if they win out and make a good run in the Mountain West tournament, they might sneak an at-large in, even if they lose to Nevada in the finals. How good do you think these guys are, Jeff?
I'm with you, and I'm not sure they can get an at-large bid without. If they don't beat Nevada in the conference tournament, I'm not sure they can get in because St. Mary's is really their only kind of marquee win on their schedule all year. Kind of a two-man show, Maryland Cada. They don't have any terrible losses, but again, they don't have any great wins. I'm not so sure about them.
And, Nevada annihilated this team when they played them.
Yeah, Nevada's awful good, though.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard for Utah State. I think it's hard, obviously, for anyone to beat the Wolfpack in the Mountain West Conference tournament this year. But
yeah, I would go along with that. We'll see what happens. It'll be right here. We'll get to see it in Las Vegas. And one other, because look, they're always a decent team. And this year they've got a legit NBA guy on the floor, and that's Murray State out of the Ohio Valley Conference. How scary is this team?
Three guys. They play three guys that get all the minutes. Morant, as you mentioned, is one of the most exciting players in the country, and this team wants to go up and down the floor and score 80, 90 points every night. They were inexplicably hammered a few weeks ago at Jacksonville State. That game just screams off the pages like what happened. But, they went into Auburn and played them tough. I think they can do damage just based on how good Morant is and how the style of play they bring. But winning more than one game, I think I would be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, Morant is that good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not convinced the team around him is capable of doing a whole lot.
No, fun team to watch, though. The Ohio Valley Conference, by the way, is a blast this year because there's some good teams. Austin Peay is a good team. Jacksonville State's a good team. Belmont's always a representative team. Murray State probably the best of the bunch. Very good league. That'll be a fun tournament. We're going to take a look at tonight's action now, and we'll start right here in Las Vegas as we head to the Wednesday MJ Christensen 4-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
And we're going to actually break this game down later as the marquee matchup, but we would be remiss if we did not at least mention what's happening with the betting line at Caesars tonight as North Carolina and Duke hook up for the first time this year, and it should be a lot of fun, Jeff.
Oh, it will be. When these two teams get together, it generally doesn't matter what the number is or what's happening around it. It's generally a good game. Looks like the more intelligent money is weighed in on Duke -8, -8.5. Ticket count's pretty even. And, of course, you get a bunch of money line dog money on North Carolina given the price.
We've got our own marquee matchup right here in Vegas tonight. It's Jeff is a New Englander like me, and so this is our old team against our new team, Bruins and the Golden Knights at T-Mobile tonight. What's going on with the betting, and let's talk about the game.
In usual fashion, we have more tickets on the road team. Given our location on the Strip and how many places we have, we're a common place for the tourists who are going to watch the road fans to stay, so they place their bets at the book before going to the game. So there's more money on the Bruins than the Knights. We're one of the rare places in town that we need the Knights a lot more than the other places. But looking at the game, Bruins are on fire. They've won 6 in a row. They've won 8 of 9. Pasternak's out. It doesn't seem to matter. Off a big win at San Jose on Monday. This might be a spot where they might come in a little, maybe looking ahead a bit in that this is their 4th road game in 6. They got a couple of days off after this one as they travel back home, or they stop halfway on the way to St. Louis. But maybe they're looking ahead to the party tonight or tomorrow. Vegas played their best game of the year on Saturday and their worst game of the year on Monday, in my opinion. I think they come back with a better effort tonight. I think Vegas might be catching Boston at a decent time. I lean Vegas tonight, not interested in laying 30 cents, but that's my brief take.
I mean, it is certainly from a travel spot, the Bruins 4th and 6th tonight. And, of course, Vegas has started Zubon the last 2 games. And tonight,
and he played well.
But tonight it's going to be Fleury back in that. Fleury, I mean, how much is it him and how much is it their defense in general? But, the last couple of weeks he's not been at his best. We'll see if the rest does him some good.
Where do you think this team is right now? Speaking of the Golden Knights, the goaltending looks like it's going to be really strong, and I love what they're doing with Fleury getting in some time off, which I think is important down the stretch. Are they a one and done in the playoffs with their roster, or is this a team that might be able to sneak out a series win or two?
I think in its current state, it's one and done. I'm not so sure they can beat Calgary or San Jose in a series. I think they still have to make a move or two up front. There's just not enough scoring depth when you compare it to some of the other more marquee teams in the league. It's interesting that Colin Miller didn't take rushes with the top 6 defensemen at morning skate today, and everything I've read kind of shows him as a possible piece in a move. He's affordable, he can skate, he's a good offensive defenseman, and he's a guy that some of these teams in the trade market might look for